Welcome back. You were talking about what needs to be done about access to land in order to make farming and the cycle a lot easier.
Good. Now, like I was saying, the farm belongs to the community. And if today, like what happened in Malaysia, how they achieved success in rubber. Now, the government of Malaysia came together and set up an agency by approaching the World Bank and borrowed a long-term loan and came to communities that own the land, that we are coming to empower you in your own land to cultivate rubber that will belong to you. But we are borrowing the money. Therefore, where are the sizes that are good that you can surrender for developing rubber outside your own cash crop that you need to eat to sustain you, as the rubber is an industrial product? So people came in with several hectares of land, and looking at the size of a family, they will know the number of hectares that you can manage. If they give you 1 hectare, the federal government, the government of Malaysia went to World Bank, borrowed the money, and prepared the entire land, and marked every portion, and every family took portions. And that money which they borrowed was monetized amongst all of them. I said, look, your portion is a percentage of this amount, and that's what they got. And when it came to the point of planting, they gave them the seedling planted. That's the nurseries, the young stems. Then when it gets to point of weeding, periodically, they will give them money to do weeding. When it gets to a point of tapping the rubber, they'll give them, a rubber cup. They give them tap knives. And by the time they tap the rubber, all of them will take the rubber to a central selling point. And the rubber processors, who now have been given raw material by the effort of the community, which government has piloted, will now come by way of sealed bidding envelopes on every day. When you bring in your bid and they open the bid, if yours is highest, you carry the entire rubber that is set into the center on that day. And what happened? The government will now take 30% retained for the loan repayment and give 70% back to the owner of the community that owns the rubber plantation.
Okay, in ensuring that the private sector really gets its strong footing in the country, the FG says in implementing that ERGP, they need to partner with them, invest in them to ensure that we run on multiple engines of growth and not just oil. What key thing should government focus on or do to ensure that the private sector really grows? Because you're also a president of a chamber of commerce and industry.
Good. Now, in this whole system, the government, in designing the policy that they are giving to the private sector to implement, in the first instance, they never brought in the private sector in designing the program. There were a few professors that they would have paid some huge amount of money that have been drafted in to design a policy paper. A man who have never tested what it means to be an entrepreneur.
But now they move beyond that. They want to
now, moving beyond that, this is a program that is set to run from 2017 to 2020. When you are preparing that very piece of document, did you involve the private sector?
So is it faulty now?
It's faulty.
So what do we do? What's the way forward?
You must bring in the private sector and say, this is our program. Because as far as I'm concerned, if you are not part of a program, you cannot implement it. All right? Okay. Because they are not giving you the money to implement. They are not giving you what is not available, like power.
So what do you recommend? Do we revisit it and then prepare a new document? What do we do?
What the government needs to do, what government have done, is for their own program. And it is they that will implement it politically.
Okay.
So what we need to do at the private sector level is to be propounded by us, implemented by us. That's where you can see the program. Government should not interfere in commercial activities.
You say it's interfere, but they just want to, well, okay.
Create that enabling
yeah, so that they could grow. But we get your point, though. David Iweta is the chairman, National Economic Recovery Committee. Thank you for coming on this morning. We'll be back and focus on another item in a moment. Don't go away.